Hi, I'm Peter O'Shea, owner of American Dry Basement Systems. We're here in Greenwich, Connecticut, and we're going to be working with a real nasty crawl space. The crawl space that we're going to be working in has already had a liner installed in it that was supposed to solve the water problem in combination with a waterproofing system. We've checked the waterproofing system. It's a real bad installation. The liner, a lot of times with crawl spaces, the liner creates more of a problem than it corrects, and we're going to show you exactly how that works out. Okay, so we're looking at a liner system here, and the flaws with liners is that you have to glue all the seams, and any glue tends to break down over a period of time, especially if you're getting water up against the bottom of it and then it recedes back down and breaks down the seam. And as we go through here, we're going to be able to show you where water's gotten up over top of it, has sat there and then evaporated up into the rest of the house and things like that, but it also has grown a ton of mold. But when I lifted this up originally, and I got to put this back up, I didn't have a mask on, and it hit me in the face with the strongest, nastiest mold smell. And I've dealt with mold constantly throughout my entire career, or for 3 decades or more. This is as nasty as it gets. It's because this liner has locked that moisture down in there with the wrong waterproofing system that didn't allow the water to be evacuated. It just sat and stagnated and has grown a really nasty toxic mold, which is one of the things we're also going to clean up here. But just so, I'm going to put this back up on like this. But when I lifted this up, and it's potent, all of this, and it's because the liner doesn't allow it to breathe. You need proper dehumidification in a crawl space like this with the proper waterproofing, and we're going to show you. But as we go through this, the other thing too is the wear and tear. Obviously, we have our heating unit, our air conditioning unit here. There's plumbing all through this crawl space, so there's workers that are going in here to do whatever type of maintenance and different things like that. Wear and tear, putting weight on top of here, whatever's underneath it, if you got any kind of small little bits of stone, it pops holes up through this type of vinyl. And you're going to notice it's done consistently all through it. So anytime that they did get water, rather than this thing holding back that moisture or even holding back the water, it allowed the water through and then held it back on top. Worst idea you could have in a crawl space is to hold that water in. You'd rather have the water come up and naturally perk away, let Mother Nature take it away, than have plastic holding it there. Neither one is desirable, but the proper waterproofing system to manage the water at a level so you don't have any of that with the right dehumidification is the answer. It's the solution to this, to what we're going to be doing here, and we'll show you step by step as we go and investigate what else is going on in here. Now, if you were looking for a problem and say, well, any breach is going to basically destroy the whole purpose of this liner, and you had to look real hard and look real hard, you could definitely find them down here. The issue is that they're everywhere on this particular liner. On top of one here, there's another one here, there's another one here, there's another one here. And as you go across, you can see it's pitted from here all the way over to the wall. Anytime water's gotten in, these are all breaches that are going to allow that water to come up through and actually fill up and then be held on top of this vinyl liner. And if you look, just do it like if you look, you can see holes through it in several different places. This is supposed to be glued and airtight, and it's just not. So we'll take so water's got to rise up to this level. You're going to do that with a liner. This whole thing is just like a swimming pool. When they were down here, there was water underneath here, splashing around underneath this liner and coming up through all those holes. And then, as we saw before, it's getting stuck up there and then creating all that mold. This particular type of system in this application is the worst idea in the world from a couple different standpoints. This is kind of interesting. So you're seeing this for the first time that I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing a waterproofing system that goes to here and then stops and it doesn't go any further. Okay, I'm going to just clear off the top of this. One of the things we find when we tear out these systems, and if you've checked out some of our other jobs that we've done and documented on YouTube, we always tend to check out with a level. And if you can see right here, you got kind of creatures and different things still living and crawling kind of thing on there like that. But if you take a look, what we find is that oftentimes these don't have pitch to them, or sometimes even a reverse pitch where it's going away from where it should. The pump's over there. So with this particular system, starting here, there's no drainage going that way. So I guess we're going to have to see just how well this works. So with that being dead level, what it amounts to is that this system turns into nothing but an overflow system. In other words, water's got to rise, and water rises equally. It's level. So water has to rise and get up this high and get up this high. So we're about this far from critical, what we call water on top of your floor. But if this system was going to be effective in any way, shape, or form, you got a way bigger water problem than this would ever address. You would want to stay away from this completely. It takes the floor off the footing, structural integrity issue. It allows water to fill up around the floor, so your whole floor absorbs water and stays wet and damp. And you can see that's what all this is right down here. That's all damp and wet, and that's why it's such a nasty, moldy crawl space. And then take a liner to lock all that moisture in. It's like the 1-2 punch of how not to address a crawl space. Hey, it looks really nice and clean when they first put those liners in, and it's great. From that point on, it's downhill, and then they start to deteriorate. They allow water in, they hold water on top of them, and then they lock that moisture in underneath it, which grows this nasty mold that we've seen here, which I really should have my mask on. Look at how nasty that is underneath that. Here's one of the things these systems are notorious for. You know, it's basically billed that this is one continuous waterproofing system, and they're not. Whenever we get to a corner and I tear these out on such a regular basis, I know exactly what to expect. There's going to be nothing underneath here when I remove this. You see, this stops here, this starts there, and there's no bottom to it. So this could never flow into there unless the water actually just filled up all around the entire thing. It's not like generating or moving water. It's only an overflow system. And then this was built in just to keep the continuity of it, strictly for aesthetics. Okay, so here we're just going to take, this is how this system put in. Basically, but the water's got to fill up to here around the entire floor before any water can find its way into these holes. So if you look here, and then if you check it out, just to show you that the quality's not so much there, that they use duct tape in order to hold the pieces together. And then they also do the odds and ends pieces, like if they have a short piece here and a short piece there, they'll just stick them all together. But that just creates more seams in a system that supposedly is kind of closed and allowing the water to run through it. Block wall, the block sits on top of the footing. Footings are 16 inches wide normally. They can be larger, but standard footings are 16 inches wide. Block is 8 inches, so when you put 8 inches in the center of 16, you get a ledge on the outside, you get a ledge on the inside. Well, blocks are hollow also, so if you went to the top of the wall and found the hole and dropped a penny in it, it would go right down and bounce off the footing. They fill up with water. That's why the bottom courses of the block are usually much more discolored. So what the proper way to deal with it is that each one of the cores you would drill a hole and drain the water out, and then where two blocks meet up is also an ear and an ear, so it makes another core. So you would drill the mortar joints too, and none of this was ever drilled, which is pretty much mandatory anytime you're working with a block foundation. This is making things much worse, growing mold and causing all kinds of problems. when you can, with one hand, tear out an entire waterproofing system that they charge thousands of dollars to install, it says a lot to the quality of the work. We've covered a lot of information here today. We got this particular crawl space, which was a disaster, pristine now. Should have been done right the first time. And again, if you like what you've seen in this video, hit the bell icon so we can notify you when we have additional videos coming out. So until then, enjoy your dry basement or your clean, pristine crawl space.